welcome again. This is the last day of fall classic here, Winter Wellness Center. Our next event will be after Thanksgiving, the weekend after Thanksgiving, so November 29th till December 6th. So please mark the calendar for that. And then the next stretch will be the longest stretch that we go through until our next event due to weather. Basically, next event will not be till March, first weekend of March. Okay, so just kind of plan accordingly there. So again, for those who don't know me, I'm a certified lifestyle educator. I've been in the nutritional industry for almost 20 years. I'm only here during the wellness events. Normally I travel around to different offices and just try to show the doctors the latest research on these different health issues. And with the company I'm with, Nutritional Frontiers, we are a research and science-based company, and we try to really educate the doctors and try to really emphasize exactly if you combine the right nutrients with exercise, with diet, the right foods, with stress reduction, we can have some really amazing results. And that definitely plays true today with cardiovascular health. So cardiovascular health, again, is one of the biggest areas that we get asked about. Okay? And it might not be like the flavor of the week, but this is a serious problem. Depending on what studies you hear and what studies you read, it's still tied with cancer as the #1 killer in the United States, cardiovascular disease. So 1 month cancer, 1 month cardiovascular disease, they're kind of neck and neck as far as how bad it is. But, yes, question.
Would the blockage of the carotid artery fall into that?
Yes, it would. All blockage of carotid arteries, all veins, all vascular issues. We would all include all of that. So strokes and heart attacks, instance, and all that type of situation on that. So yes, that's what we're talking about. Anything that has to do with the heart, any cardiovascular issue. So it's all rolled into one, okay? So any of these issues, but coronary heart disease is the most common type of cardiovascular disease right now in America. Then we get into the blood pressure, heart attack, strokes, valve issues. We put it all together. It's a big problem, and it's not getting any better. Not getting any better whatsoever on there. So we're just going to define some of these things for you. Some of this you might know, some of this might be new to you on this, but we know the coronary arteries supply the heart with the blood. However, if you have cardiovascular disease, plaque can build up in the walls of the arteries, causing blockage and ischemia, which is defined as when blood does not reach the tissue, and the tissue can die, known as necrosis. This is the narrowing of the arteries, known as atherosclerosis, okay? And then the plaque builds up and causes angina, chest pain, and results in the heart not receiving enough blood. Okay, so the plaque builds up, causes angina, known as chest pain, and results in the heart not receiving enough blood. The plaque may also loosen and dislodge, leading to the clots and the strokes. Okay, so this is the whole process, the whole evolution of what's going on in your heart valves, in your arteries. Okay. So many factors, many reasons why this is occurring. Number one, it's some type of inflammation. Okay, some type of inflammatory condition is going on there, and inflammation is really the root of all chronic health conditions. Free radical formation. Free radicals, we'll talk more about this here in a moment. This is the rust on your cells, in this case on your blood vessels, which then will turn into oxidized cholesterol. Some of these slides might not be on yours, so I think 1 or 2 pages got accidentally missed. Obesity plays a role, okay? Plays a role with heart issues. Same thing with blood sugar, elevated blood glucose and insulin. There is a hereditary genetic link, but it's not the end-all be-all. Now, if you have family, mother or father especially, who has heart disease or heart issues, do you have to work twice as hard on your diet and lifestyle and stress Yes, you do, unfortunately. Okay? You have more predisposition to it, but that doesn't mean that you will end up with heart disease just because your mom or dad has it. But you have to be more cautious. That's how we would phrase that and word that. Smoking can play a role, lack of exercise plays a role as well. So a lot of different variables, a lot of different factors going on here. So the big issue here that we want to mention is the fact that cholesterol is not the end-all be-all when it comes to cardiovascular disease, okay? Despite what medical doctors might tell you, this is one of the standards that they look at when it comes for it. But there's different forms of cholesterol, right? There's the HDL and the LDL. There's different forms, different levels. But we can actually break that up into even further aspects. And these are known as ApoB lipoproteins, and there's also ApoA lipoproteins. These are specific markers of the ApoB is of the LDL, and ApoA is of the HDL. And the research has shown that these markers, your ApoB and ApoA lipoproteins, are much, much more specific for heart disease. Okay? You can test for these. Okay, so there's the apolipoproteins. You can test for these. Most medical doctors do not test for these. Most medical doctors are not aware of these. And why are they not aware of these? Because currently there is no prescription drugs that will actually change the ApoB and ApoA lipoproteins. All right? So unless there's a drug, there's no problem. So this is why you maybe have never heard of this term, but there are testing, and we'll show you one test in particular that does test for these ApoB and ApoA lipoproteins. So if you are seeing a medical doctor, a cardiologist or whatnot, you want to specifically ask for these tests, ApoB and ApoA lipoprotein, not just your standard cholesterol panel, not just your HDL and LDL panel, because these are much, much more specific for heart attacks and strokes than your typical cholesterol panel would be. Okay. Now, this is how it all breaks down as far as the obesity connection. Okay? It accelerates this whole process. So the adipose tissue, your fat tissue, produces cytokines and other immune and inflammatory mediators which increase the inflammation. Okay? Increase all of the inflammation. And really the critical component that we want to emphasize, folks, is it's the oxidation of the LDL, of the cholesterol, that's really the enemy. That's what actually causes the heart attacks and strokes, the oxidized aspect of cholesterol, not just looking at your LDL. So this is how that occurs. So oxidation occurs when an excess of free radicals overwhelm the body's ability to neutralize them with antioxidants. Okay? So that is something where our rad-free is one of our main antioxidants, has many different purposes and benefits, but one of them is for cardiovascular health. It reduces this oxidation process. This is a very powerful antioxidant formula. So the way we would recommend this, if you have heart issues, if you have oxidized cholesterol, we recommend this 2 in the morning, 2 at night, 4 a day. This also does a lot of other benefits, has a lot of other great, amazing things. It helps with your eyes. It helps with your skin. It helps with inflammation. It helps with allergies. It does a lot of amazing things. But any antioxidant is going to really fight these free radicals. And again, that's how basically, the rust on your cells. Of course, diet is a huge component. So again, dietary cholesterol becomes oxidized when you're eating cholesterol-containing fatty food using high heat. So when fatty foods are heated, oxygen and cholesterol interact to form what's called oxycholesterol. So this is where your hydrogenated fats are in your foods. So anytime you see in foods hydrogenated fat or partially hydrogenated fat, you want to avoid these foods. So anything fried is definitely bad for you. So fried chicken, French fries, anything that's dipping in that grease, that is bad for you. This is why it becomes oxidized cholesterol. Okay, that's the bad part. What I think is secretly getting into our foods that you might not be aware of that has hydrogenated fats is commercial salad dressing. Commercial salad dressing now are using partially hydrogenated oils. So again, there's good fats and bad fats. These are the bad fats. These are what causes the strokes and the heart attacks. Is these oxidized cholesterol. So you really want to pay attention to your foods. Avoid all fried foods, okay, if possible. And you really want to look at the labels. And anytime you see partially hydrogenated oil, you want to avoid, okay? That's the bad stuff. Make sense? Now, here's what happens with the oxycholesterol. They interfere with the release of nitric oxide, which regulates blood vessel dilation, which, by the way, will turn into erectile dysfunction, among other things, okay, for men. Okay, so men focus on that bottom part of their body when they should be focusing on that top part of the body to help with those type of issues. Again, the cholesterol sticks more easily to the vessel walls, and then they are more capable of depositing the walls of blood vessels, and again, starting this whole inflammation process. So this is how this happens with oxycholesterol. So that is really the bad one. Okay. So you might say, well, what is the name of a laboratory that actually tests all these markers? So here is the one that I suggest, that I recommend. I have a few of the doctors that I work with who have used this. The name of the test is called the VAP test, VAP. And the name of the laboratory is called Atherotech. Atherotech is the name of it. But they test for all these different markers that we're about to talk about, including ApoB and apolipoproteins. Most insurance companies do cover this, okay? But here's where it gets a little complicated, because typically your medical doctor is hooked up with one particular insurance, one particular lab, and they do not like to go outside, rock the boat. They like to do they're happy with and satisfied with their own laboratory, right? So they might have never even heard of this lab or this particular test because they have no background and knowledge of these type of things right now. So all you can do is request it, or you can find another doctor who actually is aware of this test, that does this type of test. Most of your functional medicine doctors that I work with, and I can give you some names if you want to see me afterward, of some medical doctors in the area that do this type of testing, I can provide that for you if you'd like. But again, always start with your own prescription, your own doctor first. But this is the lab test, and this is the name of the lab company, the VAP test by Atherotech, that looks at all of these things that we're talking about. It's the most thorough lab that we've seen when it comes to these type of cardiovascular and cholesterol issues. Now, there's other inflammatory markers that blood tests can cover. One is called CRP, or high sensitive CRP, C-reactive protein. Again, this is a blood test, and studies have shown there's a direct correlation. If you have high CRP, it's correlated with peripheral artery disease, stroke, cardiac death, even in healthy individuals. Okay? So if you have high sensitive reactive protein, or CRP, supplemental wise, there's two supplements that absolutely have been shown to lower CRP. One is NR-DMG, dimethylglycine. Okay, I talked about this at length the other day. For a class, it would be 2 a day if we're focusing on the heart and C-reactive protein, and krill oil. Krill oil over regular omega-3D fish oil on head-to-head studies did show even better response to lowering CRP. So we would actually recommend krill oil over omega-3D if you have high C-reactive protein. Okay? So that is one marker. Again, there's many different pieces to the puzzle. There's many variables going on. This is just one of them. But if you're focusing on this one, and most medical doctors now are testing this, and again, if they're not testing this, you want to request this, doc, can you test my CRP? Please test it. Okay? Most labs do test for that now. Another test, homocysteine. High homocysteine. High levels may correlate with early heart disease. When I was talking about DMG the other day, this is one of the methylators. There's 41 conversion that takes place in the cell. And homocysteine is one of those particular methylators, and that happens inside your cell. And this is directly correlated with heart disease. So nutritionally, again, what's been shown, enter DMG and our B vitamins. Now we're temporarily out of our super B, so in place we have our B complex. B vitamins will also help with high homocysteine. So DMG, you're sensing the theme there. Then we get into genetics. And there's a specific gene called MTHFR, or stands for a very long sounding name, methyl tetrahydrofolate receptor gene. Okay? Which makes for a fantastic Scrabble word. Okay, so this is where we get into the genetics now, which are becoming more and more out there. More and more doctors are starting to look at genetics. So if you have this gene, okay, if it's abnormal, again, it's been linked to premature heart disease, high homocysteine, okay? Nutritionally, what can we do? DMG again, so we're sense a theme here with all these things. DMG, dimethylglycine, will help with all these kind of heart issues, and B vitamins will also help with this as well. Now again, as I said earlier, if you have this gene, does it mean that you will have heart disease? No. Does it mean you have to work twice as hard on your diet and exercise? Yes. Yes, you do. Okay? So keep that in mind. Then we get into blood glucose, blood sugar, glucose and insulin, fasting and postprandial. Again, really like that's more of a daily test, right? Checking your blood sugar every day. But hemoglobin A1C or A1C, shortened for that, that's really a 3-month window of looking at your blood sugar. I really like that number. If it's 7 or higher, that means you actually have type 2 diabetes. If it's 6.5, you're pre-diabetic. Okay, I like this test because you cannot manipulate your blood sugar for 3 months. You can with the blood glucose test, you can. Okay, so does that ever mean every diabetic will have a heart attack? No, but the chances are after 10 years, a type 2 diabetic of having a heart attack is 50%. 50% if you've been a diabetic after 10 years. Okay? That's the connection between blood sugar. And the thing about it is statin drugs will cause diabetes. The research shows. We have articles over there, written in newspaper articles that have proven this. So Lipitor, Crestor, Zycar, all those statin drugs that lower cholesterol will cause diabetes over time. And diabetes will cause heart attacks over time. So this is the vicious cycle. This is how it's all tied in. Vicious. Okay. Blood pressure absolutely has a role, right? We know that for strokes and heart attacks, of course, as well. Okay. So as I mentioned a moment ago about statin drugs, there are more and more doctors out there that are finally starting to see the light about statin drugs. Unfortunately, they're the small minority out there. They're a small minority. But one doctor, Dr. Radnoskov, is a medical doctor, and he basically has stated through numerous studies and trials that just having high cholesterol does not actually correlate with heart disease and heart attacks. Okay? So he's actually proven this in several studies, but the current standard, okay, standard operating procedure right now, if you have total cholesterol over 200, that's all they're looking at right now, typically. your total cholesterol is over 200, a medical doctor has to write a prescription for a statin drug or they will lose their medical license. Okay? Doesn't mean you have to take it, but they have to write it. Okay? Statins were never intended to be taken for more than 3 months. Never. Unfortunately, that's not the way it's used today. Also, when they were doing the original studies of Lipitor and the cholesterol-lowering drugs, they excluded several cultures around the world, including Eskimos and other cultures that ate very high fat, but good fat, whale blubber and so forth, the Eskimos. The Eskimos eat the highest amount of fat, but they have the lowest cardiovascular risk in the world, the lowest heart attack risk in the world. Why is that? Okay? So in the original studies of Lipitor and all the statin drugs, they excluded them, and they did not tell the general public this information. Now there's a really good book we have over there in the back. It's called Serial Killer. It's a big picture of Fruit Loops on the cover. It documents the whole history of Lipitor and the statin drugs. And it shows, again, the doctors, the people on the FDA, the board of the FDA who spoke out against cholesterol, the lowering drugs, they got actually really pushed to the bottom of the building, and they were all fired within 2 to 3 years. Anybody who was outspoken against Lipitor and the cholesterol-lowering drugs. Now, Dr. McCullough has done studies since they've introduced cholesterol-lowering drugs into the marketplace over 20 years ago. Has it lowered cholesterol levels? Yes, it has. Has it lowered cardiovascular death at all? Not even 0.00001%. Yep, but we've spent billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. In fact, last year, latest stats, 2013, the second most prescribed drug was Crestor. The second best-selling drug in 2013 was Crestor. The drug company who sells Crestor made $6.5 billion last year. Okay? Interesting, isn't it? So think about that. So this is the website. This is the direct link, Dr. McCullough. Okay? Right here, drmccullough.com, or this is the exact link, www.Huffington Post. Dr. McCullough, The Cholesterol Myth, where he has the actual statistical analysis, breaking it down on statin drugs. This is the book that Dr. Remnoskith wrote, okay? The Cholesterol Myths. Weston Price Foundation also has a lot of great information on this as well, okay? But I love this book. If you're talking to a medical doctor, and medical doctor's like, what are you talking about? Oh, Dr. Remnoskith, he's a fellow medical doctor, doc. You should check it out. Written by a medical doctor for medical doctors. So it's kind of technical, okay? But it does break it down, the information. But there's the statistical analysis. Yes?
I just have a question. Statin on statin drugs. Red rice yeast
Yeah.
has a statin drug.
Yes, it does.
It's a natural product.
Right.
How does that fit in with what you're saying?
We're not fans of red yeast rice. And if you take red yeast rice, we would recommend you absolutely have to take 200 milligrams of CoQ10 along with it, because these statin drugs, the number one nutrient that they're depleting is CoQ10. Okay? CoQ10. And they deplete 200 milligrams of CoQ10. CoQ10 is part of your energy cycle, your ATP, it's part of in the mitochondria, in the cellular level. And the problem with the statin drugs is it depletes this nutrient. So a lot of people who are on statin drugs, they get very tired and they start getting muscle cramps and muscle fatigue and Charlie horses. And this is why. Now, red yeast rice, even though it is natural, will convert chemically to a statin, has the same chemical properties to it. And it will have the same side effects as a statin drug. So if you're going to go red yeast rice, you absolutely recommend 200 milligrams of CoQ10 as well. Okay? On now. But great information, folks, for you to check out. Now, we have the solution to these issues. It's called eating better. It's called reducing your stress. It's called reducing or increasing your exercise, detoxification if necessary, and then using very specific supplements in right combination and right nutrients to naturally help with your issues. But you notice we put diet and exercise and stress reduction at the top. Just like I was speaking earlier today about weight loss, there's no supplement in the world that will work if you do not eat better, reduce your stress, and exercise. That's why they're called supplements. And even the medications say will only work if you reduce, you exercise better and eat better and reduce and increase your exercise as well, by the way. Very interesting on that. But let's break it down as far as the diet. Okay, so if you open up the brochure right here, there you go. Yep. So again, our diet is nothing crazy, nothing exotic. It's basically Mediterranean diet, lean proteins, chicken, turkey, fish, good fresh fruits and vegetables. Oops, that's okay. Good fats. Again, the number one fat that I recommend to cook with is grapeseed oil. Number 2 would be coconut oil. Number 3 would be extra virgin olive oil on that, okay? The good fats help with that whole oxidation process that we talked about. Good seeds, good nuts, you know, again, in moderation, everything. Know your sources, organic or wild as much as possible. Stay away from the whites. I mentioned earlier I'm not a racist, but stay away from the whites. White bread, white potatoes, white sugar, white pasta. Okay? So nothing crazy, just in moderation. Start eating consistently. Trying to eat healthier foods every day. If you are at an event or birthday or celebration, whatnot, yes, again, you might be limited on your choices, but don't let that one bad meal turn into one bad day, which turns into one bad week and snowballs quickly. Okay? So the Mediterranean diet there, we broke it down for you. Exercise, we talked about this earlier. Again, 3 different types, aerobic, anaerobic, stretching. If you haven't done it in a while, please go very slowly, very high reps. And just do something. Your bodies were meant to move. It helps on so many different levels. Again, where you have an elevated heart rate. Elevated heart rate is the key of exercising. Reducing stress, all different ways. I spoke earlier this week on stress formulas that we have available. So if you want to, we can talk more in detail afterwards if you have questions about different areas of stress. But the number one technique I recommend for any stress is get into a quiet room at least once a day. Start with 5 minutes. Close your eyes, no noise. Wear earplugs if you have to, but just do deep breathing exercises. Count to 10. Breathe in, breathe out for 5 minutes, then try to do a minute every day. Just doing that will help out tremendously. Again, we all have stress in our lives. Some internalize it more than others. Some is in our control, some is out of our control. And really focus on the things we can control, right? Okay, toxicity obviously has a huge role in heart issues. Again, we're surrounded, bombarded by chemicals in our air, in our water, in our food. So we always recommend at least a detox program, at least a 10-day detox, at least once a year, if not twice a year. Again, if you've never done one, I highly encourage it. We can have the flyers and brochure in the back for you. We can go over that afterwards. And then we get into the supplements. Okay, so starting with one of our newer formulas, Cardio Stack. So let me see here. Okay, here we go. Cardio Stack is a combination of 3 different supplements that Dr. Weiner has mentioned numerous times. If you ever listen to his radio show, L-carnitine, that dimethylglycine that we just talked about for all those different markers, DMG, and CoQ10. Okay? 3 critical nutrients for your heart. and heart function. We put it all together in one formula for you. So instead of buying 3 separate things, with this formula you can just buy one thing. So L-carnitine is an amino acid. Okay? Has a lot of different benefits, but for this purpose, we're using it. It helps with all different types of cardiovascular conditions. Okay? Heart disease, chest pain, congestive heart failure, heart attacks, peripheral vascular disease. Here's a study that we're referencing. 200 patients with angina, which is chest pain, improved exercise tolerance, cardiac function, and lipid levels, as well as reducing the number of medications needed just by using L-carnitine. Okay? So, very important nutrient. DMG, again, which I spoke at length. I did a whole talk on it. I won't today for time restrictions, but I could literally spend 3 hours just on this one supplement. It does thousands and thousands of benefits, and it actually has a U.S. patent for treating all inflammatory disease, and it will help lower all those different aspects of cardiovascular issues. And when you combine it with any other supplement, it will make those other supplements more efficient and more absorbable as well. So it's one of the most unique, but yet most important nutrients in the United States is dimethylglycine. And then third area is CoQ10. As I mentioned earlier when we spoke about the statins. Again, it's vital for ATP, or energy production. Prevents oxidation of LDL, the bad cholesterol. If you're on a cholesterol-lowering medication, you have any heart issues, major heart issues, 200 milligrams a day. In fact, in other countries right now, it is mandatory if you do purchase a statin. In England and in Canada, it is required by law that you have to purchase 200 milligrams of CoQ10 with it, because these other countries have looked at the research and the studies, and they know what's going on. Not in America, not in the good old USA, right? So it's extremely important, extremely important. Yes?
CoQ10.
Yes.
If you're on a statin,
Yep.
cholesterol-lowering medication,
Yep.
is that enough in this particular cardio stack, enough mgs?
Well, there's 100 milligrams in 4 capsules, so we would recommend additional amounts of CoQ10. But now that extra bottle will last twice as long if we're using this formula. So this is half the dosage. In fact, I think that's right here on the next slide. Okay, so for 4 capsules, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, okay, you're getting 100 milligrams of CoQ10. Okay? But what Dr. Weiner did here with this formula, what other professional companies out there are selling just L-carnitine for the same price that you're buying CardioStack, you're basically getting a free DMG and you're getting a free bottle of CoQ10 for the same price. Yes?
I have a question about the CoQ10.
Yeah.
Is there a ubiquinol and a ubiquinone?
Yep.
Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about CoQ10 because we get asked this question a lot. Okay, so this is ubiquinone, okay, ubiquinone. And we have this by itself. We have it in a soft gel, okay? So I'll just pass that around. We have that in small and large size. We have this in a chewable, small, medium, and large, and we have samples of it in the back. We have a triple strength one, which is 300 milligrams CoQ10, 300 milligrams DMG. And then we have ubiquinol. Okay, so the research has shown that ubiquinone has to convert to ubiquinol. This is the active form of CoQ10, ubiquinol. So in a really simple way of saying this, that 100 milligrams of ubiquinol is equivalent to 200 milligrams of ubiquinone. All the published studies on CoQ10 with these heart issues are on ubiquinone. Okay? So one of these equals 2 of those. Is another way of saying it. Yes.
Is that the best for LDL?
This is, I would say this is the again, it's very, some doctors prefer this, some doctors prefer that. So either way, they're both good. But I'm just telling you, one of these equals two of those. Okay, the choice is yours. One of the ubiquinol is equal to two of the ubiquinone.
But the CoQ10 is good.
This is all CoQ10 we're talking about, just different forms. Question? X-Flame.
Does Cardiostat take that place of X-ray?
No, X-Flame is an anti-inflammatory, more anti-inflammatory. This is more for your heart, for heart function.
I thought I heard you say it was also inflammatory.
No, DMG I was talking about. DMG, which is in X-Flame, but it has a lot of other anti-inflammatory properties to it. What? Cardiostat has a little bit. We would still recommend at least one more DMG chewable if you are taking DMG just by itself for these heart issues. On it, yeah.
But they both would work in conjunction with the CardioStat.
Yes, they both would work in conjunction, the Cardiostat. So basically, in a nutshell, you can do either one more of this or one more of the Para-Q to cover that 200 milligrams to be where you need to be as far as dosage goes. But again, now that bottle is going to last twice as long. Okay? Now, I did want to also mention one other thing about CoQ10. It does a lot of other things, by the way. And one of the amazing things about CoQ10, the research has shown, is for Parkinson's. Parkinson's. So maybe you don't have Parkinson's, but you might know somebody who has Parkinson's. And the dosage of Parkinson's is shown, there are two published studies that have shown that 1,200 milligrams of CoQ10 has slowed down the progression of Parkinson's by 44%. 44%, 1,200 milligrams. Which, by the way, there's no drug in the world that has shown to slow down Parkinson's by 44%. Now, because this has the DMG in it, this makes the CoQ10 much more absorbable. So this was 300 milligrams of CoQ10 per chewable. So if you have Parkinson's, we would recommend two of these. And we've had people who have had Parkinson's, now won't reverse it, won't cure it, but slowing it down almost in half is tremendous, and we've seen some tremendous results with that. So that's another area where you can use CoQ10 as well. It'll help with blood pressure and a bunch of other things. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yes.
That bottle, what is the dosage of the CoQ10?
On that last one, that's 300 CoQ10, 300 DMG per chewable.
Recommendation is 1,200 per day.
Right, by itself, but because of that other ingredient, it makes it more absorbable. So just 2 a day would be for that formula for Parkinson's. Okay. Now, let's talk blood pressure. Get asked this question a lot. So our number one formula for blood pressure is 7 flowers. There's 7 flowers. It's called 7 flowers because it's the original 7 herbs from Asia that's been used for 2,000 years. And for most people, this works really well. In fact, 9 out of 10 people, this works extremely well. This, by the way, is, Dr. Weiner, has exclusive on this particular formula. Okay? There are other companies, supplement companies, that claim that they're using the original 7 herbs from Asia. They are not. They are not. They call it Lotus Remedy, Bach flowers, all these other names, and they claim it's the 7 flowers. It's not. This is the original recipe, so to speak. Original recipe. And anything that's worked for 2,000 years, obviously something must be working, or it wouldn't last 2 years, let alone 2,000 years, right? So always think of that. But this has a very calming and relaxing effect, okay? And it also would be our number one formula for the glaucoma as well. So we look at blood pressure and eye pressure, very similar on how we would look at this. So for 7 flowers, we would also recommend for glaucoma. Glaucoma, in case you have that issue. Now here's how we dose this, and this is the most important challenge that I run into with this formula. Is people who have tried this and didn't see results weren't taking it properly. And so this is extremely important. Okay, so we always start with 6 a day. 6 a day, 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening. They're teeny tiny micro pellets. You can put all 6 on your fingernail. They're very small. Okay? After a week, you check your blood pressure. If it hasn't improved, then we bump it up by 2. Okay, so we would go to 8, 4 and 4. If it has improved, then we go down. We go to 2 and 2, 4. Okay? So the ideal situation, we start with 6. We check your blood pressure. If it's improved, then we go down to 4, 2 and 2 for a week. Check it a week later. If it's still improved, still where we need to be, then we go down to 2, 1 and 1. If it still if it's still working, then we go down to 1. Then we go down to 0. Okay? Again, there's a lot of variables for blood pressure, stress, and all kinds of different issues, right? And some days you're more stressed than others, which does affect your blood pressure. But you shouldn't really check your blood pressure every day because you can drive yourself nutty. You can go literally insane checking your blood pressure every day. So that's why I always recommend try to do it on a weekend, on a Saturday or Sunday when things are a little bit calmer. Do it at the same time every day. Use the same place. If you go to a pharmacy, get it checked when things are a little calmer. Don't do it day to day, do it week to week. So the ideal situation, 6, 4, 2, 1, 0. That's the ideal situation. If it hasn't improved, though, then we're going the opposite direction. We start with 6, then we go to 8, then we go to 10, then we go to 12. 6 and 6. 12 would be the max. If you try 12 of these for a week and your blood pressure hasn't improved, this formula is not for you. And then we try other options. So we're either increasing it by 2 or decreasing it by 2 weekly. But you have to be checking it weekly. Now, if you're on medication, blood pressure medication, this will complement the medication. And the way we want you to phrase it with your prescribing physician, the conversation should go something like this. Doc, I'm trying everything you did tell me I'm eating better, I'm exercising, and I'm reducing my stress just like you told me. But I'm trying something natural for my blood pressure. Here's the literature, and you'll each have a sheet on the back, and we have more in the back, copies of it. You hand the information to your prescribing physician, okay? As my numbers improve, Doc, can you help me lower my medication? Lower my medication, okay? If you say it exactly that way, the majority of medical doctors will work with you, okay? What we don't want you to say is, yeah, Doc, I want to get off all my drugs. I forgot what I told me. My chiropractor gave it to me. I don't know what it is. Okay? If you say it that way, the medical doctor will become very defensive. He will tune you out. And in most cases, in my experience, they will increase your medications and then actually add more medications just to spite you, because you're stepping on their toes. So there's a right way and there's a wrong way to present supplements to your prescribing physician. You always want to make it in a positive manner. You're listening to him or her, the medical doctor, but you're trying something natural. You always want to show them the information, the literature, and we have all that information provided for you. And you want to lower, never say get off. Never, ever, ever say get off your medications. But that is the ultimate goal. And we've helped thousands and thousands of people get off their medications with this supplement. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yes.
Just say what it is. You want to lower your blood pressure an alternate way or try it. What is the name of the bottle?
The name of this is 7 Flowers. The name of which I'm passing right now. 7 Flowers, that's what we're talking about, and there's a flyer on the back for you as well on this. But this is our #1 formula, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, Cholesterol Care. Cholesterol Care, I forgot to bring it. Cholesterol Care is our #1 formula for cholesterol. Jamie, can you grab me a bottle of Cholesterol Care, Jamie? Cholesterol care. So this is our number one formula to help lower cholesterol safely and naturally. It helps lower the bad, raise the good, helps lower triglycerides. It comes in a twin pack box. There's an AM and a PM. It's very simple. You do 3 in the morning with breakfast, and it says it right on the directions. On the AM and the PM, you do 3 in the evening with dinner. So 3 breakfast, 3 dinner. Okay? 6, so you just want to follow that. Thank you, sir. So this is the formula cholesterol care. Okay?
Just in case you forgot anything else.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So these are plant-based nutrients that have tremendous amount of research to support and maintain, again, helps lower the bad, raise the good cholesterol. It also contains the phytosterol, plant sterols, such as beta-sitosterol and things of that sort. So you might have heard that on the radio or advertised. But we're using the highest yield possible, 90% of the extract. This is the most that you can have. A lot of supplement companies cut corners here because it costs more. We're not. We're using the maximum amount that you can use with that. We also are using another plant called polycosanol. Polycosanol, again, similar benefits, similar studies, helps lower the bad, raise the good. We're also using another plant called gugolipids. Gugolipids, plant compound. Again, helps with that oxidation that we're talking about earlier with cholesterol. So here's the deal with the cholesterol care pack. 1 box would last 1 month if you take it properly. It takes 3 months to change a blood test. A blood test. Okay? So we always, if you're going to try this, we always emphasize you try 3 boxes or 3 months. Now again, we have these sales every 2 months. So a lot of people get enough for this sale, 2 months, 2 boxes, and then the following sale, after Thanksgiving, you get that 3rd box, that 3rd month, and then you get your cholesterol levels checked. You get your blood work done. That way we know if this is working for you or not. If you never get tested, we don't know. You don't know. We don't know. How are we going to know? So again, but it takes 3 months, not just 1 box, and forget it. 3 months. 3 months. By the way, 3 months is how long it takes the statin Lipitor and Crestor and Zetia to work. Right? I don't know if you knew that. So a medical doctor will prescribe statin drugs for 3 months, and then he'll order a follow-up test in 3 months. So the drugs do not work any faster, folks, than the natural supplements. Just thought to let you know that. Okay? All right, then we get into the omegas. The omegas. So we have krill oil. Okay? Krill oil. If I'm focusing on cholesterol, krill oil has been tested to be 10 times stronger as far as raising the good and lowering the bad as far as cholesterol and lowering triglycerides. So I recommend the krill oil over the omega-3D if I'm focusing on cholesterol and triglycerides, 2 a day. 2 a day, yes.
Take some of those together.
We do not recommend taking it together because the research has shown if you combine krill oil with regular fish oil, they both compete against each other and you don't get maximum benefit out of either. So you either want to do the omegas or you want to do the krill, but you never want to do both. But the krill is the one that I have gotten the greatest benefit from for lowering the bad cholesterol and raising the good is krill oil. Now omegas, which is just omega-3, which we have a third, a small, medium, and large. On that, this is the medium size, the 120s. Omegas are good for everything. There's thousands of different benefits, but if I'm focusing on cholesterol and triglycerides, I would go with the krill oil. Okay? But any other type of inflammatory issue, we recommend the omegas. We recommend at least 3 a day on that. We also have an enteric-coated version if you don't have a gallbladder. That's where that version would come into play. We also have specifically DHA chewables for kids. And we have, if you're a vegetarian or you prefer flax or borage oil, we that's where the omega synergy comes into play as well. Okay, so we have a couple different versions on your choices on that. So here's the results as I was just talking about. In head-to-head studies after 3 months, krill oil showed 27% better improvement lowering the bad and 38% better improvement over raising the good cholesterol 2 a day. So those are the actual studies. All right. Want to just mention briefly here about Nattokin Plus. Nattokin is an enzyme, and this helps as far as a natural blood thinner. Okay? So instead of the blood thinners, Coumadin, warfarin, Plavix, and all those, this would be like a natural blood thinner. Now, if you're on those blood thinners, we have to be much more cautious. And we would really recommend that you meet with Dr. Weiner if you're on those type of blood thinners. Okay? There's a way that we can help you wean yourself off working with your prescribing physicians. We can do it, and I have other professionals, doctors who do this using Nattokin Plus, but it's a slow process. And again, if you've had a stent, if you've had a stroke, if you have those heart attacks, unfortunately it's standard operating procedure that they have to prescribe Coumadin or warfarin or some of those other types of blood thinners now. So again, we're limited on what we can do if you're on those blood thinners. Okay, we can still help you, but we would be a little bit more cautious and conservative. But in a nutshell, Nattokin or nattokinase is basically a natural blood thinner. Okay, so I just wanted to emphasize that with you there as well on that. Okay, rat-free, I mentioned already. The colors also have a bunch of different nutrients and antioxidants as well. A lot of references there on those. And again, we listed a bunch on the brochure for you as well. Okay? Any questions on any of the things that we talked about? Yes, sir.
You were talking about krill oil.
Yep.
I'm not well read in on any of this, but someone said something about omega-3 and omega-6s.
Yep.
And there's a ratio of the two that
Yes.
is potentially better. How does krill oil?
Well, there's good sixes and there's bad sixes, right? So if you have health issues and cardiovascular issues, you have way too many bad sixes. So these are the good sixes and the good threes that we're trying to rebalance. So that's what we're trying to do here with this. We're just trying to get your body back into its normal state. And so that's where this would be the benefits, the positive omega-3s and the omega-6s and also the omega-9s or in the krill.
What is krill oil? What's the composition?
Zooplankton. Zooplankton is the most abundant species on the planet. That is what whales eat. Okay, and then zooplankton feeds on blue-green algae. So that's what krill oil comes from, is zooplankton.
The oil itself, is it an omega-3, omega-6?
Yes, and yes. Omega-3, 6, and 9. It's a combination of all three, and they're all the good ones. None of the bad ones, and it's trying to reverse the imbalance of the bad ones. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Yes, question.
If you ate a lot of kale and dark green vegetables, would
Yes.
that be enough of a natural blood thinner?
Well, they have K1. There is natural blood thinning agents in those. But if you have major heart issues, then we would absolutely still recommend a Nattokin Plus for you. More, yes, correct. Yeah, I did. It got held up there a little bit. Yeah. Well, that's a great question. All of the fish oils that we carry here have been tested and are below detectable limits for mercury. Okay, now are you talking regular fish or the supplements?
No, like regular fish.
Okay, so we actually have a brochure in the back that I can show you that actually has a listing of the different fish out there, and the fish that have the highest mercury on there, and I'll make sure you come find me, and I'll get that for you. Yes. Now, all of our fish oil has been tested to be completely mercury-free, and heavy metals and leads and all the bad stuff contaminant-free. Yes. Yes.
For someone that's already on cardio stack,
Yes.
with a CoQ10,
Yep. Yep.
do you recommend taking additional supplements?
I do. Yeah, I do recommend additional CoQ10 if you have any
What would
major.
you say?
I would either do the Power Q, either the Power Q gel or the Power Q chewable or the Power Q no, whichever one you prefer.
Okay,
They're all
so-
good.
Okay, so if you're taking the cardio stack, let's say 4 of them a day,
Yes,
how many would you have to take of that supplement?
just one. Just one of the Power Qs.
Because you did say 200 mg.
Right, and you're getting 100 with the cardio stack, so we need to be at 200.
4 a day.
Yes.
You're getting 100.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
If one wants the benefits of omega-3,
Uh-huh.
would you not take the krill oil then?
No, you get omega-3 in krill oil as well, so you get all the benefits of the fish oil.
Krill oil gives you more than omega-3.
It does when we're specifically helping with cholesterol and triglycerides.
Cholesterol is not your problem, you just want the benefits of the omega-3 for others.
You can do either one. Either one, you just don't want to do both.
Now I have another question. Way back at the beginning of your lecture, you said this lab that does these special tests, Atherolab,
Atherotech.
Atherotech.
Yes.
Where are they located?
I'm not sure. I think it's in.
The area?
They're not in the area, but they would just go like any other blood lab. That you just can go to any lab facility, and they can send it to that lab to do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you said CRP is a test for inflammation?
Yep. CRP, high sensitive C-reactive protein. Yep. And again, most blood tests do test for this, and you can request this one. Uh-huh. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So I'm just, yes, sir.
The number of pages are missing. Is that
Yeah.
going to be available?
Well, I'm going to go find it right now and try to get you those extra pages. So if you can wait a few minutes, let me go find out what pages are missing, and we'll try to get that updated for you. Okay?
What pages?
I think there's several pages in the flyer, yeah, in the handout. Okay. They skipped them. Okay. Yeah.
I guess I had some too missing. I
What
didn't.
would be the dosage of this if you were on a blood thinner and then you wanted to get off and you saw the doctor? Or
Yeah.
even for preventative, what would be the,
Well, 2 a day would be preventative. Okay. I would really be cautious if you're on a blood thinner, unless you're working with somebody like Dr. Weiner or a doctor, and you want to be tested every 2 weeks if you're on Coumadin or warfarin, because anything you take will slightly affect your Coumadin or warfarin levels.
how about if you take ginger, if you do it, if you're on a blood thinner? Will you
Anything you take will affect your Coumadin or warfarin, but especially Natakin, especially garlic, especially fish oil, and especially vitamin E will affect Coumadin, warfarin, and K2, or K1 rather, K1, the green leafy vegetables will affect it. So somebody on those medications in the past, the doctor's supposed to, have told them, if you're on those blood thinners, do not eat any green leafy vegetables at all, okay? That's actually not what they're supposed to be telling people now. What they're supposed to be saying is you can eat green leafy vegetables. You just have to be consistent eating the same amounts every day, okay? So that's really the key phrasing with somebody on that. So, but you can't eat one day, eat broccoli for lunch and then spinach for dinner and have a salad, and the next day eat nothing, because that will dramatically throw off the blood levels.
But you shouldn't take any ginger or E, you're saying, when you're on a blood thinner?
You can, you just have to monitor it, and you have to be getting checked every 2 weeks. Yes, you just have to be more cautious about it. Yes. Okay?
Yeah, I was supposed to say garlic too, I think.
Yes, garlic as well. That's another one. Garlic, vitamin E, fish oil. Okay, yeah.
Say, I'm looking for a holistic cardiologist here in Pittsburgh. Do you have any?
I don't have a holistic cardiologist, but I have medical doctors who can order the labs for you. There is no holistic cardiologist in Pittsburgh, but we have functional medicine doctors who can do these type of tests that we're talking about today.
Yeah, but I have to deal with my cardiologist.
You can work with your cardiologist, but you can also work with another a general GP as well.
I don't think he understands.
He won't understand, but the functional medicine doctor will understand. So let the functional medicine doctor fight that battle for you. There is no holistic cardiologist in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Where could I get one?
New York, California, Texas, Florida, Chicago. Yeah. Yeah, but I can get you some names of some other functional medicine doctors in the area, and they could work with you on this. Okay, and they might know some cardiologists that might be more open to what we're talking about. That's the way we would approach it.
Would you get me some names?
Yes, just come see me when we're done. See me, yes. I would say he's really close. Yeah, if you ever want to read, we didn't mention in presentation, but a really fabulous cardiologist. His name is Dr. Steven Sinatra. No relation to Frank, but he's written many books, many bestsellers on key nutrients for your heart. And so again, that's some great information and resource. Yeah.
I have another question with blood thinning.
Uh-huh.
If you've had I've had many strokes, which I saw only half of the image in my eye some years ago. So the doctor said to take some aspirin.
Yeah.
He told me to take a whole aspirin, and I cut it down to taking 1.5 baby aspirins a day. But then I had a little event recently, which I'll take 2 baby aspirins, morning, one
Yeah.
evening. What can that really do good for blood thinning, and can you get off of aspirin after
Sure.
taking it for a long time?
Well, first of all, I would never in a million years take aspirin for more than 3 days. I talked about this yesterday. Never more than 72 hours. The research on aspirin, including the baby aspirin, including any non-steroidal, ibuprofen, Tylenol, it will kill you. Kill you. So over 16,000 deaths per year, and that's in the New England Journal of Medicine, goes back to 1998, because aspirin blocks other mechanisms. It doesn't heal, it doesn't repair. It also causes gastric bleeding in your heart, which will lead to other digestive problems.
Bleeding in the heart?
Gastric bleeding in your stomach will lead to ulcers, yes, and it will cause other major problems down the line. So never, ever, ever in a million years would I take an aspirin for more than 3 days. They block other mechanisms. They do not repair. Depends.
I've been taking them for years, and I'm still alive.
Yeah, but you just told me you had another setback recently.
In my opinion, I did, yes.
So why did you bump it up from 1 to 2?
Because of that.
Was it what?
From 120 milligrams a day.
Why? Why did you bump it up? What problem did you just recently have?
I actually took an aspirin, and that wiped it out.
Why did you raise it from 1 aspirin to 2 aspirins?
Not 2 aspirins.
You just 1 baby aspirin to 2 baby aspirins. Why?
Because of that occurrence.
What occurrence?
When I saw a zigzag line.
So it affected your eyes?
Yes.
Oh, so it affected your eyes. So for you, the aspirin affected your eyes.
No.
Then you just told me.
No, I didn't tell you that.
You just said your eyes went zigzag.
Not by taking aspirin. The aspirin.
But you've been on an aspirin since you had the stroke. And over time, that will actually cause your eyes to deteriorate.
Fine. Now, my question is, how can I get off the aspirin and have a blood thinner? And can you get off of aspirin?
Absolutely. Fish oil, krill oil, garlic, vitamin E, all those things do exactly what an aspirin does without causing the zigzags in your eyes. Okay? For you, that's what it affected. Other people, it affects their stomach. Other people, it affects their other organ systems. Yeah. By the way, the FDA just last month changed their policy on telling medical doctors not to prescribe or not to recommend taking an aspirin or even a baby aspirin daily. Just last month, the Food and Drug Administration changed their policy because of the damaging effects of long-term use on aspirin.
All right, so what if someone has been taking it for several years?
yeah, I would get off of it immediately and start taking any of these other options. Okay. All right, folks, my time is up. I appreciate it. I will be in the back if you have any other questions. I will try to go get you those additional slides. We have Candace going to, you're going to be talking? Oh, Jamie's going to be speaking next. Appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thank you.